Hello, fellow listeners. This is Chuckleman Central, and we have finally come to a decision that we are going to start a podcast. I am joined by my two fellow friends here, and all three of us run Chuckleman Central. Please, you two introduce yourselves.
Nope.
Evening, ladies.
So, lads, what are we here going to try and work with? Are
I'd
we
say
going to
I'd say we'll
go
go with politics.
politics? Okay. So, politically wise, what do we think or feel is our current letdown, shall we say, in this country?
Well, for starters, we certainly need a new prime minister. That's the one thing all of our listeners can agree to.
Yes, I think that is true.
Also, I'll throw in a fun fact then as well. The most common boy's name in Great Britain is Mohammed, as of 2025.
I did actually hear that in a pub once.
1 in 5 boys is named Mohammed.
Because, it's a classic British name for us all.
Yeah.
No.
Because we all went to school with Mohammed, didn't we?
I think I did.
I don't think I did actually,
In
thinking
my
about it. I just said
20
that.
in my 20 years of living, I've never met Mohammed or spoke to one, apart from a Uber driver.
Have you
Apart-
not?
No, generally.
I think that really says everything.
It didn't used to be a common name in the past 4 or 5 years. It's just skyrocketed to the #1 chart. It's number 5 up
To be
there.
fair, you've got a point. To be fair, you've got a point there. It does sound. It just says it all when you say your Uber driver is.
I've never met Mohammed until I got an Uber. That really just really nails down this country perfectly. Yes, because I don't hear Mohammed at any other time. Unless I book an Uber, then every other guy you see is Mohammed.
That's basically how it works
You will.
nowadays.
And the others are called Steve or Jim.
Steve, Jim, Mary, and then Mohammed.
Yeah.
You might have a good old Dave
We will
or a
put-
Joe, but now it's Mohammed.
We are gonna. We are gonna have this. This is. We'll put this at the beginning. We have this is a disclaimer. We mean no harm or no offense in anything we say. We are just three lads with our very strong opinions.
But
So-
every Mohammed can hit me up. I will happily talk to all of them.
I could be friends with him if you
Yeah,
want, but the problem is,
I mean,
give
I
it-
reckon some of these people that come into this country are probably, don't get me wrong, probably really nice.
yeah, like
Oh, yeah.
a lot of the how do I say word it nicely? People not from this country. They're all lovely, but
But-
the problem is the amount of them is getting out of hand.
What you got to remember is only about 100,000 people last year out of
Sure, if they're
2.5
providing-
million people that came into this country are actually illegals.
I'd only say keep the only
Yeah.
ones you should keep are the ones who provide for this country. And if they don't provide
Oh,
this
yeah.
country,
Yeah,
you should
and I
just get
mean,
rid
I
of
think,
them.
I think the most agreeable fact here is that I don't get me wrong to all the English doctors and British nurses and British doctors. They try their heart out. They do everything for this country, which I'll put my hands up and say thank you very much for.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But with my personal experience, I don't want to. How do we put it? Doctors that aren't British. I have. They've always been really good.
Oh
You know
yeah.
what I mean? They seem to be slightly in a very small league of their own. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. But the problem is, someone has to do the job. When everyone's trying to be the next crypto genius or the next Messi or the next Ronaldo, someone's still going to be a nurse and a doctor. I mean, that's the reason they come over from Europe in the first place.
Exactly.
So maybe it's not as fact of we're letting them in as such. It's the fact of the people in this country don't want to do the job, so someone has to do them to keep the economy running.
Yeah, the thing is,
Which
if they're going to come to this country and not work, they shouldn't stay here.
But
Which is
that's
why,
probably a
which,
small
which,
5%.
which is why there's like a 27,000 threshold for them to stay in this country, or something along those lines. Because if they don't achieve that, they'll have to go back to their own country.
If you checked the immigration stats for this country, there was probably 2.5 million people that came into this country last year. And I reckon 150, maybe even 200,000 of them came on boats. But the other 95% are getting the shit
But
because of the bad from the other 5%.
pretty much. But the question is, they come to this country, they basically get given a lot of money, and if we went to their country, would we get anything in return? The answer to
Probably
that
not,
question
but
is,
you know.
we'd get absolutely nothing. Just because this country is great.
I don't want to make myself sound very opinionated, but like you said, there's a small 5% that come in this country and just use us for money.
Oh yeah,
I
100%.
think
There is
Yeah,
that
yeah. Then
small
you,
portion.
yeah, then you got
if
that
if
5%
if
who just
if
gonna
we're
leave.
more if we're more stricter on that small percentage and stop them from coming in, do you think maybe then with that smaller percentage out of the way, we can then start working on our own people who are struggling,
Yeah, we
like
should.
our homeless people,
Yeah,
the
that's what.
people that are sitting on the streets and the homeless shelters. Maybe start giving them the council houses instead of giving this
Yeah,
small percentage people who just come into this country and I don't know, just live off our money, maybe?
yeah, and a few
I've
thousand
just
pound grant that foreigners get from coming into this country, if they gave that to every single homeless man, they'd have a lot of money for food, and then they wouldn't be starving.
I've just found some statistics for us on the UK government website. In
Yeah.
2024, the UK government granted 2.1 million visas, right? Of which
Mhm.
37,000 separate people. So we're talking 2.1 million visas plus other routes. 37,000 people arrived on boats, of which they then claimed asylum. So we are talking about less than 5% here. We're talking about less than 50,000 people and probably upwards of
But
over 3 million
like I
people.
say, it's a very small percentage. But with a country with a country like us, that small percentage is could be quite a big deal. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, you got to
If you
remember
had like if you had something like this happen to a country like I don't know, say a country like
Poland.
Russia, they're a
Poland.
bigger or Poland, but they're a bigger country and everything. It's probably less likely to have a major effect. As I was saying, a small percentage of people that don't make a difference. Well, they do, but you get what I'm trying to get at?
Yeah. Not the right difference.
Yeah, they don't make the right difference.
Oh yeah.
So you put that small percentage into a country like us, it makes quite a big difference as we're finding out on our streets. But you put that small percentage into a bigger country, into a more populated country, say somewhere like China or
Poland.
Russia, Poland. Correct me if I'm wrong, or have your own opinion on it, but I think it won't have as much effect on them as it would like it has on us.
Yes, because 1 in 5 people in Poland aren't called Mohammed.
Well, you're right.
But I think we can.
Well, you're right there, aren't you?
You
Because
don't go walk down the street in Poland and go, oh, Mohammed, Mohammed, Mohammed,
if
as
you
you're
go,
crossing the zebra crossing.
if you
Like
go,
Mohammed, Mohammed, Mohammed.
yeah, if you go back to in this country's history about 10 years ago, it was probably close to 1 in 100, 1 in 1,000 people called Mohammed. Now it's 1 in 5.
So if you walk on the zebra crossing, they all stand on one step. 3 or 4 of them are called Mohammed these days. I mean, if they all step with one standing on white, black, white, black, white, black. Across like the 12, 13, 14, whatever stripes you have in a zebra crossing. A good proportion of them will probably be called Mohammed. You can pick a random portion of this country and you can do that with. But they are still the backbone to the UK society.
Which,
Well,
you
that's
know,
a minority of them. But
yeah, and don't get me wrong, I'm not keen on the idea of immigrants coming, the government allowing as many immigrants as we're letting in. But I will have to put my hands up here and I will have to say, although they're coming here illegally or legally, whatever ones, mainly the illegal ones, I'm not keen on. But when they come here, some of them make a difference, and that's sometimes what
that's the vast most. That's
this.
a minority vote, man.
Oh,
Most
it's
Yeah,
the
people are
but
minority of the minority
pretty much.
yeah,
that
but
are doing something wrong, really.
Yeah.
Well, not wrong,
yeah,
but
and the people that are doing something right, the illegal immigrants that are doing something right, they're the ones that we need to keep letting in.
oh,
And
well,
need
we
to
are
some.
letting them in. It's the doctors, the
Oh yeah,
nurses.
yeah, and we need to somehow stop them from being margined as an immigrant and class them as a migrant
Yes.
because they're making a major difference to this country, and that's what we need.
Yeah, but there's problem with that one. The amount of people on benefits now, because it's almost impossible to get a job nowadays. Well, it's a lot harder than it was, let's say, 5, 6 years ago.
So the guy on benefits is the one schooling people on benefits. That's what I
My
thought.
point is, my
Moving
point,
on. Yes. What's your
my
point?
point, my point is,
No need for that.
my point is that some people on benefits, moving on to benefits, some people on it are rightfully on it.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Some people can't work or they, physically can't work. But people that can't be asked to work and they choose to stay at home and they choose to do this and they choose to do that, they don't even attempt to look for work. That's what gets on my nerves a little bit. I mean, if they've tried and they can't get it, fair enough. But you but you get what I'm trying to say.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It's the ones that are trying to make the difference, that can make the difference, that aren't making the difference, that are the ones that wind you up.
Yeah, a lot
The
less
ones that,
Yeah,
people would be on benefits if it wasn't for the immigrants coming in and taking 90% of the jobs. Sure, they
well,
fill in
at the
some of
end of
the
the
sure they fill in some of the gaps of jobs we don't want to do, but there's still a portion of jobs we'd want to do if we could get the chance.
but unless you want to go work 50, 60, 70, 80 hours a week in the worst conditions you can imagine, in kitchens in 40 degrees, cleaning the streets of the mess that we're making, and all the other jobs that you wouldn't want to do.
Yeah, but some
Once you
people.
do those jobs, you just realise they're working 10 times, 15, 25, maybe even 50 times harder. And they are living on the bare minimum. And they're sending it back abroad to make their families' lives better in another country.
oh yeah. But then
But
we need to look at this country as well. I mean, digressing slightly towards still sticking with money and the government, and slightly moving to a very debatable subject now, Russia-Ukraine war. Now, I think that this country, for our people and for our benefit, with the army and people, our army, our naval, and stuff like that, I think we need to take a step back.
Oh yeah, 100%.
we need to stay. We need to take a step back in this. You can't.
Because
I don't think we can. I don't think for much longer we can keep chucking Ukraine supplies, money, supplies, money, supplies. We're
No,
we're gonna run out ourselves.
it's
I've
not.
just found a statistic for you. Since the launch of full-scale invasion in 2020, the UK has committed to £15 billion in support to Ukraine. Of includes £10 billion in military assistance and £5 billion in non-military support. This country's military budget for the 2024-2025 year is only just short of £60 billion. That means if you put
Yeah.
that into the military budget, we'd actually have a military budget about £70 billion a year. That means it probably could be better spent.
And it could help the
And that's coming from
homeless.
the Lord's Library of Parliament.uk/fact file military assistance to Ukraine.
Yeah, they can't run and it can't do that permanently. Or
Oh yeah,
the
we
same
we couldn't
country.
keep it.
Yeah, because they could. How many
We
homeless
can't.
people you reckon they could home or feed with that amount of money being sent to Ukraine,
Oh,
or even a
15.
fraction, or even a fraction of what they gave to Ukraine? Even a billion of that budget would help them a lot.
We could probably help about 400,000 people, give or take, with £15 billion.
Look, think about the 10 billion. We can't. The 10 billion supplies you can't really
No.
work with for people because that is from army to army. You can't
Oh
work
yeah,
with that.
but the £5 billion in non-military aid.
Yeah,
That could have been used to help the homeless,
what I'm saying.
help people that severely need it,
Yeah, that's where I was going to get to.
and that could have gone to the
That
NHS and not all the
5 billion.
hospitals with
That-
lack of funding,
yeah,
or
exactly,
or schools.
exactly. We've got
Or maybe,
education. We've got education that some places are struggling.
The
You've
majority of
got
schools nowadays are struggling with lack of funding.
just yeah, exactly. So more money to schools. You could have gone more money into. You could have gone more money into the army if you wanted to.
But we'll give away about 20% of a military budget away to help another country. And then an extra
oh no, that's
15
just
billion.
random money that managed to come out of nowhere. You know, it wasn't from our military budget. It's just come out of nowhere now. Ukraine's been invaded. I'm pretty sure you'll have to fact check me on this, but I'm pretty sure it's something like £500 million a year we send to India because they're in the Commonwealth. I hate to break it to you, but I think India might notice if we probably won't notice if we don't send them like £500 million a year. You'll have to check on that.
Gee,
You probably have to research it, but I'm pretty sure it's like
so
£500 million.
do you want me to check that for you?
Yeah, that ain't gonna
Yeah.
be an entire like a fortune for them, is it?
Yeah, India's not exactly running out of money and in poverty. I'm pretty sure it's like £500 million or something ridiculous we send to India every year.
Um, all told, we calculate that around 2.3 billion in UK aid went to India between 2016 and 2021, including 441 million in bilateral aid,
Yeah.
129 million in investments via FCDO,
So yeah, it
Indian
does
and
work out about £500 million a year because 2016,
generate
21, 21
returns
is a 5-year period.
749 through multi mul, multilateral channels and 1 billion in investments through is that like BII?
So we're still
BIL?
sending £1 billion in to India every year, despite the fact they don't exactly need it.
And now think about
Yeah,
the amount of good
so
that could do to this country.
At the end of the day,
Yeah,
what's India's GDP?
India's what?
GDP, gross domestic product.
3.5,
Yeah, 3.5
6
trillion.
trillion.
Okay, so if we don't give them a couple of 100 million, they won't exactly notice. But why are we spending and giving them £2.5 billion across a 5-year period? And that's just since 2016. We would have given them probably another £500-600 million a year since 2021.
Theirs is higher than ours, pretty much. What are we helping them out when they got more?
Yeah, we're helping them out because they're in the Commonwealth,
and they have more than we do.
and they're probably they're not richer than us.
They are. India is 3.6, and the UK is 3.34.
So yeah, our GDPs are similar, but we're giving them £500 million a year.
I
Just in
know.
case.
Saying that, 1.4
Well, the
billion.
United States has a GDP of 27.72 trillion.
Yeah, they don't need help. They help us though because they kind of do give us money because we let them use our air force bases. But
Yeah.
pretty sure there's an
Bigger
agreement.
as of 2023, they are bigger than us as well, as in population-wise.
Yeah, we know they have more population. They're in Asia. They've always had a big population. They're like the second most populous country in the world, if not the first.
I'm pretty sure it's number one.
It's India or China. I think. I think China's slightly ahead, but my point is they're worth a lot of money for us to be giving them money to help them out.
They literally have about 300 billion more than we do.
Oh, they definitely have. If they don't have more, it's definitely on par
Yeah,
for sure.
it's about as of 2023, we're like 200, 300 billion more than we do. And we still give
Oh
them
yeah,
500 mil, which they
This?
probably won't miss.
Who's this?
India. They're worth as much, if not more, and we're giving them money just in case they need it.
What? They're,
Yeah, India's possibly got better GDP than us. It's you'd have to compare them across the same years, but they're worth as much, if not more. That's a fair
yeah.
assumption to say.
I don't think Google provides that, so I can't really fact
Oh
check
yeah,
there. But it wouldn't surprise me if that's true.
oh yeah, exactly. But why do they need 500 million if they've got a GDP of 3.57 trillion pound, give or take?
They don't. It's just something we ain't going to get out of anytime soon.
But we're giving it to them anyway.
There's no point. We're not going to miss it, and we'll miss it more than they will.
We could put another 500 million pound a year into our military budget or the NHS that would probably be better spent on this country.
Or 500 million to help the homelessness, which could help a few thousand people.
Yeah, but the NHS is backlogged. They need money.
Yeah, I know. But people are
If there's
starving
less
and stuff
backlog,
together.
and worst case scenario, we have to expand the NHS to help the backlog, and we give people more jobs that takes homeless people off the street. Because everyone will be better off in the long term. So it kind of comes hand in hand, really, if you think about it. But it all depends, really, in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
There might be
I
some
mean,
weird reason why we give India £500 million a year, but
Well, it certainly ain't going to be for
it's
protection,
all
is it?
it's personally
it's
not to
all
save them.
no. I think it's all form of aid.
But why do they need
I think it's
why,
like
AIDS.
why do they need aid when they have more than we do?
I think
It's like
I
a
don't know,
homeless
but
man putting millionaire money.
No, I was about to say, it's like a homeless man on the street that's got 500k in his bank account, really.
Pretty
He might
much.
be
yeah,
asking for change, but he doesn't exactly need it.
No. Or it's like homeless giving to
Millionaire.
it's like poor giving to the rich, like normal.
No, not quite. The
Yeah,
government just taxes and everything.
pretty
Even
much.
the rich get taxed, unless they're super rich and they have boats in Monaco and offshore accounts and all that fancy stuff. So it really
I
depends.
yeah. I mean,
I suppose
it
there's a
just
big difference between the upper class, that's the rich people in this country, and the rich or the super rich that have got money hiding everywhere and aren't really getting taxed because they know the loopholes and they get around the loopholes.
yeah. That's what baffles me.
I think you'll have to
That
check this, but
really.
I'm pretty sure with the new. I was reading the other day that your second home is going to possibly get double the council tax in some of the counties in the UK. But I think it was the current UK Chancellor, Rachel Reeves. I think it was that, or was it a Conservative policy? They're just adding on to the end of something. But if you buy 10 homes, that you're actually exempt from the policy. And I think right afterwards, some of the politicians actually went on to buy homes.
Yeah.
Talk about a loophole. If you buy 10 homes but within a certain period, you're actually exempt.
Then I'm going to buy 10 homes.
You know, yeah, but
Might take me the rest of my life, but...
the politicians that know